welcome to another edition of Did You Know Doctor Who? What you may not know about Doctor Who. This time we're going to have a look at the Empty Child / the Doctor Dances. I hope you enjoy. The Doctor saying the famous quote, "Everyone lives," is actually true, as this is one of the rare Doctor Who stories in which everyone does in fact live. This is the first official episode written by future showrunner Stephen Moffat. In Davies' initial pitch, Captain Jack was originally called Captain Jax, an interstellar alien soldier. When Captain Jack mocks the Doctor and Rose for their out-of-place outfits, Flag Girl was bad enough, but U-Boat Captain, he is actually spot on. The Doctor's leather jacket is in fact a vintage 1938 German U-Boat commander's jacket. The hospital where the Doctor meets Dr. Constantine, Avenue Hospital, is the same hospital where they took the space pig in Aliens of London. Dr. Constantine remarks that he used to be both a father and a grandfather but is now neither. The Doctor replies that he knows the feeling, implying that his granddaughter Susan all this time is now dead. The nanogenes were initially called the nanites. The new terminology was suggested by script editor Helen Raynor after it was observed that the nanites were a plot device often used in Star Trek. Captain Jack is a former time agent. They were first mentioned in the Talons of Weng Chang. Jack tells Rose about a fully equipped Chula warship that he landed in London. Chula is actually the name of a restaurant where writer Stephen Moffat first met fellow writers Mark Gatiss, Rob Sherman and Paul Cornell to celebrate getting the job on Doctor Who. When the Doctor explains the way Nancy operates to feed the children of London, he says, "I don't know if it's Marxism in action or a West End musical." This is a reference to the musical Oliver, in which Nancy is the name of a character who is the big sister figure into Fagin's gang. Unlike previous episodes, The Empty Child, the next episode trailers were shown after the end credits instead of immediately preceding them, possibly in reaction to comments after Aliens of London about having the cliffhanger for that episode spoiled. This trend has continued for most two-part stories in the new series. Rose becomes the first character in the new series to ask the titular question, Doctor Who. In order to achieve the necessary height, Rose dangling from the barrage balloon was filmed in the hangar at RAF St. Athens in the Vale of Glamorgan. The Empty Child is shown to have the ability to make telephones ring even though they are not connected to anything, such as a fake police box phone. Stephen Moffat would later reuse this device in his series Jekyll in 2007, in which Mr. Hyde develops the ability to make his alter ego, Tom Jackman, believe that his phones are ringing even if they are turned off or disconnected, and that they communicate through Jackman through these phones. The initial draft gave the infected humans more elaborate powers, including the ability to levitate and generate waves of force. The material at the hospital was originally more horrific, depicting a skeleton and organs in jars, all sporting gas masks. Dr. Constantine was originally called Summers, and it was he who brought the Doctor to the hospital after meeting at the club. The Doctor was originally led to the hospital by one of the children, who would be called Billy. However, concerns then arose that the Doctor did not meet Nancy until the very end of the narrative, so she was given Billy's role. The sounds of Dr. Constantine's skull cracking as the face changed into a gas mask was considered too horrific in its full form by the production team, and was cut before broadcast. However, Stephen Moffat claims on the DVD commentary to this episode that the sound was discussed but never put on. The only words the Empty Child says not in relation to his mummy are balloon, and a mention of his fear of bombs. Working titles included World War II and An Empty Child, which was a reference to An Unearthly Child. Meanwhile, the Doctor Dances had the working title of Captain Jax. Early drafts included the character of Jamie's father, who would silently and anonymously appear to aid Nancy and the war orphans. The climactic discovery of his true identity would be accompanied by the revelation that he is German, providing an alternative motivation to Nancy's shame. Whereas Russell T Davies focused on the romance of the period, Stephen Moffat wanted to emphasise the haunting nature of the Blitz-torn London, spending some time immersing himself in the history of the era. He was struck by the image of a gas mask tailored specifically for use by children. This suggested that the charred creature of the pitch document could instead be an eerie young boy clad in a gas mask. The Doctor Dances is the first single Doctor Who episode since Doctor Who and the Silurians Part 7 to directly name the programme's main character in its title. The word dancing is frequently used in this episode as a metaphor for sex. Writer Stephen Moffat would use this innuendo again in The Girl in the Fireplace, in which he hinted the 10th Doctor might have had some form of romantic dalliance with Madame de Pompadour. When Captain Jack arrives at the climax, the Doctor shouts to him, "Change of plan," but they never actually made a plan. In the script book, Stephen Moffat explains that the plan was in an earlier draft of the script and got cut because it was slowing the episode down. Both episodes have the distinction of being ranked as Doctor Who magazine readers' favourite Ninth Doctor story in all 3 of their major polls held since its airing in 2009, 2014 and 2023. The crashed vessel at the heart of the mystery was originally Jack's ship, having been catapulted back in time following the explosion of its warp drive. The sonic blaster was designed by Matt Savage, who based it upon the shape of a banana. Although you can barely see it, the bomb that Jack catches in the tractor beam has Schletcher's Wolf written on its side. Schlechter Wolf means bad wolf in German. Colin Baker named this as his favourite story of the series, highlighting the Everybody Lives scene as his favourite moment. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed. The Empty Child / The Doctor Dances is a wonderful story. It's a surprisingly dark story, even though no one actually dies in the story. Obviously, the Empty Child itself, the gas mask zombies, are probably some of the most iconic enemies in the New Who era, even though this is their only appearance. I think the whole story of the nanogenes being basically a helpful thing that just did something wrong, i.e. it tried repairing a boy that had been killed in a bomb blast, but because he was wearing gas mask, it thought the gas mask was a part of his body. I think that's quite a fascinating idea. I like the idea that this thing that was meant to help people ended up accidentally not helping and making things worse, creating the gas mask zombies. The gas mask zombies are very creepy. The "Are you my mummy" line is probably some of the most iconic lines in the modern Doctor Who era. I love how there is this sympathy with the zombies, though. You know, you can see that when they catch the virus, they've got this scar on their hand, you know, and they all start saying "mummy" very timidly, and they, of course, then grow the gas mask on their face. And, you know, at the end of the day, it is a story that, let's be honest now, it does get resolved by the power of love, which I guess in some ways is kind of a generic ending. But at the same time, this is just such a nice story. It's a very nice and friendly story, despite how dark and creepy it is. You know, it takes the creepiness, it takes the darkness, but it also creates a very wonderful, very wholesome, very loving story. It's understandable why a lot of people consider this to be the best of Series 1, or at least one of the best. It's definitely up there. It's really good. Like, Series 1 in general has almost no bad episodes. I don't think there is a single episode that is really that bad. I think the weakest is The Long Game, but that's about it. The rest of the series is just phenomenal. And, you know, this is just another example of how phenomenal Series 1 is. A very good two-parter, a very creepy two-parter, but also a very loving two-parter. I love the ending so much, and the Everybody Lives speech when he, you know, shoots off those nanogenes at everyone. It is wonderful, and, you know, you get the sense, of course, you know, the Doctor has been through so many adventures where people just die endlessly, and it's every episode more or less someone's dead, at least one person dies, and yet here we have an episode or 2 episodes where, despite the harrowing situation, everyone lives. And this is a man that has just been in the Time War, and he's witnessing this World War, and he is for once letting everyone live because he just wants it this one time, and he is so ecstatic. That is truly one of the best scenes in modern Doctor Who. One of the best episodes in general, definitely in the top 10. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Did You Know Doctor Who, and I'll see you next time.